Namaste everyone, and welcome to today's video on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 1.41. This is an absolutely incredible sutra because here Muni Patanjali starts to explain to us the process in which the person that is meditating starts to become one with the object of meditation. And he's tried to explain this through the example of a jewel by saying that a jewel that sits on a particular colored glass starts to reflect that same color or starts to look like that same surface, and it's very difficult to find the jewel after a while. And this is exactly what happens to the person that's meditating and trying to become one with the particular object of meditation, is that the person and the object start to become one and the same. And I don't mean physically, they don't merge together, but instead mentally and experientially, one starts to understand the qualities of the object on which we're meditating. So now let's hear the Sanskrit sutra and start breaking it up word by word to understand it even better. So the sutra itself goes, Kshina vrittera bhijatasyeva manera grahitra grahan graheshu tatsthada janata samapattihi. Alright, so this is the particular sutra, and as you can see, it's quite a long one. So we're going to start breaking it up word by word and understanding it a little bit further. So let's look at the first word that we have over here. The first word is Kshina Vrittir. And this particular word means the one where the vrittis have become a little bit dwindled. Alright, so this is where the vrittis start to reduce or they have become already quite less. The next word we have over here is abhijata, which means that somebody of a faultless birth or of a noble birth. So it's indicating something that is just faultless and amazing, basically overall. Then we come to the second part, which is eva, and this means like. Then we come to the next section, which is maneha, right? And this is talking about a money, or basically a jewel as we know it. It's referring to a sort of crystal almost, and we'll understand a little later in the video why they're referring to a particular crystal, but let's keep understanding the meanings of the words. The next one is grahitra, which means somebody that's perceiving or grasping something or understanding it. So the person that's comprehending a particular process. Then we come to grahan, which means the act of comprehending something, the process in which we are starting to understand something. Then we come to the next word, grahya. And this word is basically the object that is trying to be understood or studied, or the one that is chosen for meditative contemplation. And then we come to eshu, which is basically just a plural suffix, and it's been used in this case at the end of the particular part of the sutra. And then we come to tatsthata, which is referring to the condition of being in somebody else's place. So this is what we know in this section, and again we'll understand the explanation who is coming in whose place and how the identification really happens. And then over here we have the next word, which is referring to the colorfulness of the money. It's tadan janata, which here is telling us more about the particular type of jewel and how the color is taken on through the characteristics that when we're under the process of meditation. And the final word, of course, is samapatti. So now that we have all the words understood, let's see the meaning of the sutra and try to understand it a little further. So now through the sutra, Muni Patanjali is trying to explain to us what is really happening in the process of samapatti. Now we've understood so far in the previous sutras a few of the stages of the inward journey. We understood them as vitarka, vichara, ananda and asmita. And here we're being told now of deeper layers of the inner journey and what really happens when one starts to go even further. And here is where we're given the example of a jewel or a crystal, and we're told that just the way a faultless jewel will take on the color of the surface that it's put on or the objects that it's nearby, The same way, a mind that has learned to distill its thought waves, or a mind that has learned to be still and stable, will find it easy to take on the contents of another object of meditation. So this is only possible when we already have a certain level of reduction of our own thought waves. We are so plain in a way that we're open to receiving the information that we get from other objects or sources. And so this is why we've been given the example of a faultless jewel. So it's not just a jewel whose surface is kind of scratched or is not reflecting light well, but it's a jewel that does its job really, really incredibly well. So that's why a mani has been chosen in the sutra to explain it better. Now, commentators often also say that, in that time, if there was glass or the kind of materials that we have today, then perhaps they would have named those materials. But in Muni Patanjali's time, looks like the crystal or the faultless jewel was the best material that could reflect light or color without it and merge with that particular object. So I think that's probably why they've used the example here. Now, as we go deeper, we're told of many different types of samapattis, and particularly there are 4 types of samapattis associated with the vitarka and vichara that we had understood earlier. So there is savitarka samapatti, nirvitarka samapatti, savichar samapatti, and nirvichar samapatti. These are the 4 categories of samapattis that have been explained to us. But what exactly is a samapatti, right? A lot of people think samadhi and samapatti are the same thing, but Muni Patanjali was a real scientist, and he made sure that if he was naming something, he wouldn't define it with 2 different words, so it has its own place, it has its own meaning. If you look at the word samapatti itself, it refers to the process of falling into something or deeply understanding something. And so it, I would say, is at a stage before samadhi where the samapatti process is taking place, and it involves the elements of vitarka and vichara, which, if you remember, were in Patanjali Yoga Sutra 1.17, which you can check out as well. So overall, this sutra, even though it's incredibly long, it's trying to tell us that in the process of meditation, when one reaches such deep levels, what essentially happens is the person, the process, and the object all become one and the same. And so through this merger, one is able to understand deep concepts and contemplate on very subtle ideas. I think in today's day and age, we constantly need quantitative elements to kind of focus on, and we need to see everything and understand everything. And that's amazing because that's how we've been able to progress scientifically. But there's also another realm or space known as the subtle realm, which today quantum physics is exploring quite a bit, and we keep hearing of different discoveries in this field. But in many ways, even Muni Patanjali and a lot of the munis that wrote about it in these sutras were referring to subtler fields of understanding, and they were talking about how people that were really, really powerful with their mind structures, they could actually enter these processes and then, become one with the object that they were trying to meditate on. So I think now in today's day and age, it's very difficult for us to believe this because we don't see that many examples in and around us, and we live in a technological age where it's difficult to believe this, But as I always say, if we try to explain the concept of video calls to our grandparents even a couple of years back, they would completely, be like, how is this even possible? So I think sometimes we just have to leave that awareness that maybe there were things that have happened in the past that we don't understand that well, and for that time and that age it probably worked really well, but maybe we don't understand it as well today. So that's what I will leave this process at of Samapatti. Hopefully in our own meditative journeys, maybe we can start reaching some of these stages, but it of course takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I hope this video has been useful to you and you've been able to understand what Sutra 1.41 was trying to tell us. If you'd like to continue watching these videos, we have a Patanjali Yoga Sutra playlist that you can check out. The link is in the description. And we'd also love to see you at our future workshop or our yoga philosophy classes. So please do join us. To also subscribe to our channel, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and we'd love to see you in the next video really soon. Take care until then, and we'll catch you in the next one. Namaste.